Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome back to Andy's Cavern. And I hope you're all well out there, boxing fans, on this Sunday night. Good stuff. So what I want to talk about tonight is Eubank Jnr and Conor Benn on the Piers Morgan show. As you can guess by the intro, Piers Morgan ain't no Michael Parkinson, is he? Not at all. Personally, I think Piers Morgan's a bit of a plum. Just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. As I always say, I'm happy to agree to disagree. So, what did we see? They went on the Piers Morgan show. One of Conor Benn's best mates, or it's his old man's best mate. Go on Piers Morgan, Conor. He'll sort it out for you. No, what did we see? It was pretty obvious from the beginning that Piers Morgan was Team Conor Benn, wasn't he? Biased towards him. Which was in... If you're doing a show like that, I ain't no expert, but you've got to be... Surely got to be impartial, don't you? If you're having two guys on from opposite ends of the fence. He gave Conor Benn an easy ride. And then he kept pressing Eubank Jnr about his relationship with his dad and prying into that. And prying more. Trying to get answers. But I thought Eubank was absolutely brilliant. Is Eubank Jr. the coolest guy in boxing at the moment? I used to be a fan of his years ago. When he first came on the scene, I thought, he could be good for the scene. He looked like he was pretty dedicated and disciplined at that time, but his career stagnated too much for me, and I got a bit fed up him for a time. But now I like the way he's putting it on folk. He put it on all the promoters, didn't he? There's not many folk with the balls to do that, but he certainly showed them. And doing that. In the press conferences, he's put it on Eddie Hill's, and he's just defused any of his attacks, hasn't he? Neutralised everything Eddie Hills can bring out the bag. And he sold the fight, to be fair. Personally, I think he's levels above Conor Benn. He's been there and done it. He's maybe not succeeded at the top level, but he's certainly competed at the top level. What's Conor Benn done? He just comes across as a brat, doesn't he? And all this stuff with failed drugs tests and that, like I always say, drug cheats, I want them beating out the sport. So that's what I hope happens in the fight. I don't want to see anybody injured, but I want to see Conor Benn humiliated, bounced off the canvas half a dozen times and stopped by the ref or whatever. That's what I hope happens, but I think that's what could happen, but we'll wait and see. There's all this stuff about the rehydration clause, but I think that's been a bit blown out of proportion, because he's, as far as my understanding is, he can put 12 pounds on by 10 o'clock the next morning or something like that. So I mean, he's got the rest of the day to rehydrate a bit further. So you might find he comes in the ring about 175 or something like that pounds. So because he can be 172 the next morning. So I'm guessing he must be comfortable with that, or he wouldn't have accepted that, would he? So we'll wait and see. And I mean, he kept just pursuing Eubank with questions, giving Benn an easy ride. I thought Eubank was very cool. Benn seemed agitated, and Eubank was certainly the more mature of the two. But he is a bit older, but Conor Benn just seems like a hothead. That he bites at every time he's baited. And Eubank came out with some interesting stuff. I mean, he was saying how he said the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that Nigel Benn might have cheated. Maybe if he was going to cheat, maybe Nigel Benn, maybe his father's the same. Now, there's no evidence to support that I know of, but there's a documentary about the Nigel Benn fight with Gerald McClellan. I think it was Gerald McClellan's trainer. He was accusing Nigel Benn of being juiced up. I think there was something about blood being tested that was on one of the boots. Now, I don't know if that's right or not, that's just stuff. But he obviously had suspicions. He wouldn't air them otherwise, would he? He wouldn't have said anything if he didn't suspect that. But then suspect. You need evidence before you can start accusing people. But it's the way Eubank just said. It's a possibility, isn't it? He says he's not saying that was true. It's just a possibility. But it was an interesting comment he made, you know. So, but I think Piers Morgan said, was it strict liability had been carried out? So I don't think that has been. That's, I mean, he's saying he's been cleared and all this. No ban, no fine, no this. But he was suspended for long enough. Why wasn't he fighting in this country? Why wasn't he asked these questions? Why did he fight in America? What was he suspended for? He did kind of half admit that clomiphene was in his system, didn't he? That's the closest we've seen him come to any kind of admission. But he said he didn't knowingly take it in. But where's this big, what was it, 270-page dossier or any of that? That was going to clear him. Why has that not been put in the public domain? Nah, and Eubank's obviously not wearing it. I think he's, I mean, is it a lot of fake beef? Is it being hyped up? We don't know. But personally, I think a lot of people, if somebody you're basically weaponising yourself if you're and going in there with intent, aren't you? To do damage. I mean, boxing's a damaging game anyway, but to try and gain an unfair advantage by taking performance-enhancing drugs, or whatever he took, it's bang out of order in my mind. You could kill somebody. And it is one of the few sports you could kill somebody legally, you know. So that's wrong, eh? So I can see, I'm sure there must be some kind of animosity from Eubank towards him for that. And Ben's just got this big bag of McCain's chips on his shoulder, isn't he? About everything. Just a shit attitude, eh? I just don't like him. It's just he's maybe playing the villain to an extent, but he has done wrong in my book. He's failed drug tests. He's had shit in the system that shouldn't be there. What's it there for? Exactly. So that's my opinion. But I like the way Eubank just keeps. He shut Piers Morgan up as well, didn't he? And that's a accomplishment in itself, isn't it? Shutting him up. So, like I said at the beginning, he ain't no Michael Parkinson, Piers Morgan. He's a bit of a rocket in my book. I quite enjoy watching George Galloway tear him to bits in some of the debates they've had online. I don't agree with everything George Galloway says, but he's certainly a fearsome competitor if you were getting into a debate with me. Gorgeous George Galloway. He used to be a boxer himself, he said. So I've actually spoke to him a couple of times on his show many moons ago, but he certainly talks from the heart. And I certainly believe for him over, I'd rather have a drink with him than, though he doesn't drink alcohol, I'd rather have an evening with him than an evening with Piers Morgan, eh? What could be worse than that? Just a typical mainstream media buffoon, isn't he? So, just my opinion, like I say, you don't have to agree, but that's just what I think. And like I always say, you're only going to get the truth here, the way I see it, so you might disagree, but that's entirely up to you. How do you think the fight's going to go? How do you hope it goes? Maybe you're a Conor Benn fan and disagree with me, but no, that's fine. If you want to be a fan of his, that's cool by me. Okie dokie. And I'd also like to say R.I.P. Dick McTaggart, Scotland's probably greatest ever amateur boxer. He passed away last Sunday, a week ago today. I think he was almost 90. And he had some extraordinary record. It was something like, I forget off the top of my head, but it was something like 635 fights and won like 620 of them. It was absolutely unbelievable. That's rough figures. It might be right, I can't remember, but it's somewhere along the lines. But he's an absolutely phenomenal boxer, and you'll see, if you ever watch Frank Goldfeather's content, you'll see him talking highly of him. And he's got a lot more knowledge than I have. Yeah, I think he knew him very well personally. He was from Dundee, as where Frank comes from originally. So yeah, R.I.P. Dick McTaggart, one of the greatest ever, well, the greatest ever Scottish amateur boxer. So yeah, sad news, but he's reached almost the ripe old age of nearly 90. So yeah. So other than that, tonight we'll say don't forget Boxers in Need, www.boxersneed.com, and I hope you're all doing well out there. I'm going to be doing another collaboration with Canada Bob and Canada's Boxing Channel. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe to Canada Bob's boxing channel, and like and subscribe to Porky's Corner as well. And if you haven't looked him up already, look up Frank Feather. He's a huge inspiration, Frank Feather. He's I think he's 79-year-old now, and he'll go a long way to find a fitter 79-year-old. I think he trains 3 times a week. If you watch him on the punch bag, he's no holding back. He gives it everything all the time, and he goes about doing seminars and generally inspiring people, because he's a very inspirational guy. At some point, I hope to get him an interview with him on my channel, because I think he'd be a fantastic interview. I'm guessing he's so much knowledge and so many good stories to tell. So I think he's on YouTube now. Frank's Noble Art, I think it's called, his channel, and he's on Instagram and TikTok where I first seen him. But I remember watching him on TV as a wee boy when he was a presenter on STV's North Tonight. He used to be the sports correspondent, so he's a good guy. He doesn't look much different to what I remember as a wee boy, so he's obviously living a clean and healthy life. So keep fit, that's good for you, isn't it? So okie dokie, we'll leave it at that tonight, guys, and as always, be happy and be healthy, and don't forget, like and subscribe to Andy's Cavern Boxing. Share it with all your pals if they like boxing, but don't bother if they don't. But okay guys, thanks for your continued support, and we'll catch you later. Till the next time, cheery bye.